How's it going, everybody? As most of you probably know, Typhoon Odette had recently hit the Philippines and also Negros Island, where I live and dive. And 3 days after the typhoon hit, my dive buddy Matt and I went and surveyed, informally surveyed really, the reefs in Dauin. And we also looked at the reef fish behavior. Now these reefs always have a lot of damselfish, like these chromis here. They did not seem to be bothered by the excess sediment and by the reduced visibility. I almost had the impression that these plankton feeding fish were more active because potentially the sediment really had acted as a fertilizer for the plankton. Now here we have smaller damselfishes which live among the coral fingers in these reefs, and they seem to behave just like they normally do. Very wary of divers, but they did not, at least according to my impression, hide more. Now some of these coral blocks were covered in material which had been swept in from land. Now this is a couple of Klein's butterflyfish, and these always struck me as very clever generalists. And now what they're doing, they're sipping through the sediment which had been deposited on these corals. So these fish have really adapted their behavior within 3 days of this typhoon. Now this is a square spot, and there's another plankton feeder, and also my subjective impression was that they were quite more active than normally. This is also a species which we normally only see deeper, and I believe these fish are filmed at 11 meters, where it was darker than it normally is because of this extra sediment. Now there's a wrasse here going about its daily hunting. Again, I can't say that there's much of a change in these fish. This is a very curious example. These are two Urchin Clingfish. Normally, they exclusively live among the spines of diadema urchins. Now, I am assuming that the diadema urchins had been moved away by the typhoon, and so these obligatory commensals were essentially sea urchinless, and they were swimming about these corals and essentially looking for a new sea urchin. So this is the only time I've seen this fish without an urchin. Now, very active also the striped catfish. These are olfactory foragers, and they had a blast going through this plant material which had been swept into the ocean from land by the typhoon. So there was probably a very good amount of food for them. Okay, so I am here with the famous Matthew Lafrance, also known as the John Belushi of the coral reef. And I heard that your spouse saved somebody during the recent Typhoon Odette. Is that true?
It is true. In the middle of the night, I think it was about 1 a.m. The wind was pretty rock and roll at that time, and we live in a bamboo house, so we were awake just watching to make sure everything was okay. And so we were outside kind of looking around, and we were protected from the wind. And Irene noticed in the field beside us that the neighbor had left his cow tied up in the middle of the field. So this cow is in the full brunt force of this typhoon.
So you took the cow in?
So Irene decided she was going to rescue the cow. And I said, oh my God, you're going to go out there? I said, make sure and wear a helmet. Anyway, she went out there and untied this cow and ran it into a spot where it was in the lee side of a building, so it was out of the wind and the rain. And apparently the cow was extremely grateful. It showed very, very strong emotions.
So you have formed your family a friendship with that cow now?
Yeah, I would say, well, Irene specifically is friend to the cows.
Mm-hmm. Would you still eat a steak from that cow?
From that cow?
Yeah.
I don't know. maybe.
How would you cook it? Like well done or medium?
Oh God, no, God, you have to cook them rare.
Oh, okay.
Don't destroy your meat.